Welcome back, everyone. This is Kylie the Curly Crafter.
And today we're gonna make a carrot cake.
A carrot cake.
So grab your eggs and your aprons and let's get started.
Let's get started. After my apron was on, I had to make sure that I took out 4 eggs and also a pack of cream cheese because these need to get to room temperature. Then I got this print of this carrot cake recipe off of Whiskey and Wit's website. I will leave a link down in the description if I can, and also a link to her video. Then I just started to gather up some ingredients, especially over at this amazing new spice rack. I grabbed some cinnamon for the recipe. After we gathered some ingredients, it was also time to prep some ingredients, so we got this pack of carrots that we then took and gave them a quick rinse. And then in order to shred them, because the recipe calls for shredded carrots, you're going to have to cut off the top of the carrot, and then you're also going to have to cut off the bottom of the carrot just so you have it all nice and fresh. Then what you're going to do is get rid of your extra pieces and start shredding them in your shredder. You will need to shred, we shredded about the whole bag or an equivalent of 3 cups of shredded carrots. After you have 3 cups of shredded carrots, then you're going to need a 1 cup measuring cup and some pecans. So next what I'm going to do is I'm going to open all of the pecans and then I'm going to pour them into this food processor. So once I have them in the food processor, I'm going to start chopping them up. So you're going to need about a cup of chopped pecans. Lastly, I'm going to pre-measure a half a cup of some raisins. Now we are going to get a cup of brown sugar and we are going to put it in a bowl, but you can also just use the bowl for whatever you're going to be using to mixing if you're not going to be using a hand mixer. So in that case, it would be the KitchenAid bowl. And then after you have that, you're also going to go to a separate bowl, but this one not in the KitchenAid, because you're going to add all of your dry ingredients in here. In this case, our first dry ingredient is 2 cups of flour. And then after we have our 2 cups of flour, we are going to add in the rest of our dry ingredients. The next dry ingredient that we are going to add is going to be 2 teaspoons of some baking soda. And then after we added in 2 teaspoons of baking soda, we're also going to add in 1 teaspoon of some salt. After the salt, we're also going to add 1.5 teaspoons of some cinnamon. In your KitchenAid bowl or your other bowl, you are going to add in 1 cup of sugar to your brown sugar. Because we didn't already have the brown sugar and regular sugar into our mixing bowl, we added that in there and then also added 1 1/4 cup of some vegetable oil. For more flavor, add in 1 teaspoon of some vanilla extract. Before starting to mix our wet ingredients, we came over and whisked together the dry ingredients just to get them ready. And then after all that was pretty whisked together, then we went over to the KitchenAid, added on this paddle attachment, started it up, and then slowly and gradually while this was mixing, we cracked in 4 of our room temperature eggs. To our wet ingredients, we slowly added in our dry ingredients, but the reason that we had to do it slowly is just so that all the dry ingredients didn't go crazy all over our kitchen and it would make a huge mess. So after gradually adding in all of our dry ingredients, that's when we decided to grab our pre-measured carrots, pecans, and raisins and added that into our batter. After all that was combined, we started to get the pans ready to bake, and we have a little secret, so that is actually just taking the parchment paper and tracing that to the pan to make sure it's the perfect size, and then after that you just cut out the circles. The next thing that you do is you take a stick of butter and then you rub it all on the bottom of the pan, and then you also rub it all around the sides of the pan. So then after it's all on the sides and the bottom of the pan, the next thing that you are also going to do is take your parchment paper and rub it on the bottom of the parchment paper. After you have the butter on, you're going to place it in your pan with the butter side facing upward, and then after that's in there, then you are going to take some flour and just kind of sift it and roll around all of the bottoms and edges of the pan. This makes it really easy for you to pop out your cake when you are done, and then after all of your pans are ready, then you're just going to remove all the excess from your little KitchenAid mixer, and then you are going to remove the batter and start pouring it into the pans. The thing about this though we'd like to do is get it pretty precise. So then you're just going to pour your batters in the pans and making it as equal as possible. Beforehand, make sure you preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and then once it's preheated, we are going to pop in these cake tins for about 40 to 45 minutes. Now we are going to make the cream cheese frosting, and you're going to start off by adding your 8 ounces or 1 block of cream cheese, and instead of using the pedal attachment, we are going to use the whisk attachment for the KitchenAid and beat it up till the cream cheese is nice and creamy. After you have your cream cheese all beat up, the next thing that we are going to do is add 1 1/4 cup of some powdered sugar. The last thing you need to add to your homemade cream cheese frosting mixture is 1/3 cup of some room temperature heavy whipping cream. After that's in, then you just let it whisk until it's all completely combined. To store it, all we did was place it in the fridge until we were ready to use it, and then now all of our carrot cakes were done, so then we took them out. We let them cool inside the pans for a couple of minutes, maybe 5 to 10, and then we transferred them to a cooling rack, but because of our special pan trick, look how smooth they all came out. In order to stack our 2 cakes, you will need a flat surface, so what we did was use this cutting tool and cut off the top extra piece of our carrot cake. After we had all of the tops cut off of our carrot cake, then we took out of the fridge our homemade cream cheese frosting and spread a nice thin layer on the inside. After that was done, we took the rest of our homemade cream cheese frosting and started spreading that on the top of our cake and along the sides. If you would like, you could be done with your carrot cake now, but I also wanted to add some really pretty decorations to it, so we stuck it in the fridge while I made another batch of the cream cheese frosting. After I made the cream cheese frosting, I took the cake back out of the fridge and then began to start decorating it. So this is the new batch of frosting, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up and then I'm going to add some into a small bowl because I'm going to need the colors green and orange. So after I added some into the bowl, I got this pack of pretty food colorings that is for food. It's from Amazon. If I can find a link, I will leave it down in the description. But this is the color I used. I used some grass green, and then I just poured some of that into the cream cheese frosting mixture and then mixed that up. And then after all of that was mixed and combined well together, what I did is I used a piping bag, but you could also use a plastic bag if that is better. What you are going to do is just cut a really small tip off and then add the cream cheese frosting in the bag and start piping on the stem for your carrot on the top of your homemade carrot cake. For the orange part of the carrot cake, all I did was do the same thing and add some of the cream cheese frosting into a separate bowl, and I used the color Sunset Yellow and dyed that together. So then after that was dyed, I mixed that all up and added it into a piping bag or plastic bag once again. The only difference when doing the orange part is instead of cutting a small tip to pipe, I just cut one a small bit larger just so that you would have thicker lines when piping it onto the top of your carrot cake. So for the last of the homemade cream cheese frosting that I did not color, I used a really pretty star tip inside of a piping bag and then transferred that into that. After I had the cream cheese frosting in the piping bag, I used it to pipe on a really pretty border on the top and a nice pretty rim border on the bottom of the carrot cake. After that, you can put it in the fridge and let it set up, and then it is delicious and ready to be eaten. It is so good and I love everything about it. Hopefully that you guys will give this carrot cake a try. Hope you guys liked our carrot cake.
Enjoy. Bye.
Don't forget to subscribe.